All right. Hello and good afternoon. My name is Madeline, your host for today. Welcome to today's presentation, The Guide to Sales Methodology with Chuck Thokey and Nathan Tebedo. Today's webinar is brought to you by Leap and Engage. Leap is a sales software that reduces errors and redundancies that slow down your sales process. Leap allows the owner or someone accountable to control all pricing and profit margins in one central location. Whether you're in the roofing, window, siding, flooring, kitchen or bath, or any other home service, you can use the power of Leap to make our customizable sales platform your own. With Leap, you can take your documents, estimates, brochures, personal checks, handwritten notes, measurements, literally anything that you could need for your sales process and put them into one digital location to power your business. Leap also integrates with many companies that you probably most likely already use or you are interested in using. One of them that helps you really create that wow factor for your customers is Engage. Engage is a leading sales platform for the home improvement industry. Engage cloud-based platform enables contractors to create interactive sales presentations, securely share them with their team, and measure the impact of their message through the rich analysis, all within a single software suite. Happy Engage customers include New Pro, West Shore Home, Reborn Cabinets, Jacuzzi, and more, and many more. Close more deals and powerful presentations with Engage. Leap and Engage, two of the leading platforms in the industry, have teamed up to bring you the best in one place. With the special going on for our current Engage and Leap customers. If you're currently a Leap customer with 5 or more users and you sign up with Engage through the end of May, you'll receive 20% off the new annual Engage subscription. If you are a current Engage customer and you sign up for Leap, you'll receive a free onboarding and 1 month free of Leap. I am going to launch a poll here. And if you would like to hear from either one of our teams or both of our teams, you can go ahead and answer which of those you would like in the comments. And we will make sure that someone from our team gets a hold of you so that if you're a Leap or a current Engage customer, you guys can take advantage of that special that we have going on through the end of May. You can go ahead and answer right now. That poll is up. I'll leave it up for just a few more seconds. Perfect. We got a few answers. If anyone else wants to jump in there, give it just a few seconds. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to end that poll. If you didn't get a chance to answer and you do decide later throughout the presentation, you can go ahead and put in the chat box that you do want to hear from one of us, and I'll make sure to get that information to our teams. And now, which you are all been waiting for, our presentation today, I want to introduce you to our speakers. First, we have Chuck Thokey. Chuck Thokey is a sales and marketing coach, author, mentor, and keynote speaker, helping small to large home improvement organizations grow their sales as much as 50 to 80%. Chuck has the experience and knowledge and coaching ability to help you meet and even exceed your revenue goals. We also are going to have Nathan today. Nathan is a fan favorite. If you're wondering why does this guy work here, it's because Nathan's 20+ years of experience in the home service industry. His experience includes installation all the way to general business management as a contractor, sales, training, consulting, and business development for contractors, software companies, working with hundreds of contractors across the country. I am happy to present them to you, and I hope that you thoroughly enjoy this presentation here. Chuck and Nathan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. We always, from Contractor Coach Pro and the Top Rep group, we always love getting a chance to bring some content to folks that we hope will at least have a few nuggets of information that you're able to take away and implement that you find practical, maybe inspirational, might even poke you just a little bit once in a while as a challenge you just a little bit too. And so we love doing this kind of stuff, and we love our partnership with Leap and with Engage, some of the coolest tools that we've seen. And I know both Chuck and I have been around just a little bit in the industry and for a number of years, and we've seen a lot of really cool stuff out there. And these two tools, if you have not gotten familiar with them, you have got to check them out. So that's a little quick endorsement on my part personally, as well as from Contractor Coach Pro and the Top Rep Group. But for today's discussion, I'm gonna start out a little bit in talking about sales methodology with some of the grander concepts and ideas, some of the grander things that we need to have in our mind as it pertains to the way that we portray and put ourselves out in front of leads and prospects and in our communities and the general public. We're going to talk about a couple of those components. And then Chuck is going to jump in and talk about some real granular, real impactful, real practical, real helpful components that we should be thinking about implementing and installing with our team. And then we'll probably wrap up by addressing that all encompassing struggle that most companies have. And that's, why is my sales team continually at battle with everybody else, right? So I want to start a little bit with where we would generally coach at Contractor Coach Pro people, where we would start in this concept of sales methodology is going to come down to kind of two different things. Number one, it's going to be the attitude of your people, as well as their belief. Okay, which is kind of funny. I didn't plan this, but I'm actually wearing our belief t-shirt today. But the attitude of your people and where it comes from and how to be diligent and purposeful about it. Now, you hear this word all the time, the word culture. It definitely has become a bit of a buzzword. And at this point, I kind of don't really care that it's a buzzword. It really is so critical and foundational to the way our people conduct themselves with one another, as well as out in the world. Because we can put words up on the wall, we can have clapping sessions at our meetings and all this kind of stuff. But if at the end of the day, the prevailing attitude and worldview of our people is not aligned and conjoined in the way that we want it to be, then no matter how we purport ourselves together or out into the world, we're going to have struggles ethically and morally inside of our business. And so when we think about this concept of how to start with addressing our sales methodology, we need to understand who we are. Have we taken steps to understand what kind of company we want to be? Now, look, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. We've worked with companies that are ultra sharp, super professional, very aggressive, very assertive, and they're very successful with that methodology. I've also worked with companies that were a little more fun, a little more goofy, maybe a little more laid back, maybe a little more family feel to who they are. And so identifying what the characteristics are of your company is number one, because we have to have a baseline or a standard that we want our people to either aspire to or embody. So what is the thing that we want our people to embody? Because it starts inside. It starts inside of us, and what's inside of us and what we believe and what we're trying to embody is what's going to affect the way we do things in the world. How our behaviors are, our attitude, how we address our customers. So what is that for you? What is that character? What is that attitude that if you had somebody who was striving really hard to embody that character, that attitude, and that personality of your business, what kind of behaviors and what kind of interactions and what kind of communication style would you expect from that person? So once we know what that is, and we have an idea of what that would look like, we then probably want to do a little inventory of our people. We want to find out, are we truly living to this thing that we either say we live to, or are we actually taking the actions and the steps that we think we should be if we hold these things valuable? And here's the thing that can happen too. And I know Chuck has seen this before as well. You can have internal attitudes and perspectives and worldview inside of your company. Admins, production folks, customer service people, and then your salespeople out in the world can have a completely different way of communicating with the customers. Now, you could probably see how that might create a little bit of consternation for a customer. They feel like they're talking to two different companies because there's a dichotomy or a delta between this group of people over here who are the ones that sold them the product and made all the promises, and then the people they're talking to here. I know a lot of people use Chick-fil-A as an example, and I know of a lot of other examples, but based on where you are in the world, you may not have a Dutch Brothers coffee. So I will stick with the Chick-fil-A example. When you talk to somebody at Chick-fil-A, you may talk to 1, 2, or 3 people during your experience at Chick-fil-A, and you will typically get the same feeling and the same communication, the same attitude, and even the same verbiage from each one of those 3 people. Furthermore, you can go to a Chick-fil-A in Colorado, where I'm at, or you can go to a Chick-fil-A in Florida, or you can go to one in Kansas, and you'll probably experience the same thing. And so from our perspective, the first component to really addressing the sales methodology that you really want to purport and bring to your clients, as well as to each other, is going to start with understanding our culture, understanding what it looks like to live our culture, and then doing our best to align our people with an understanding of that, and then helping them to continue to embody it and doing things that reinforce that inside of our company continually. Okay. Now, the second component that I want to talk about is that your customer experience starts at the top. So as you move into this component where we start wondering how to embody our culture, and we start taking some inventory and doing a little audit on the behavior of our people internally and externally, the first people we got to look at are our leaders, because your people will embody the methodologies, the communication styles, and the attitudes of your leaders. And so the way that our leaders look at challenges, look at struggles, look at clients and customers and their own team is going to be mimicked by everybody else. So the first people who need to be held to the standard of our behavior, our belief, are the leadership. If you show me a group of leaders that truly embodies their culture and then allows that culture to seep into their team, and I'll show you an organization that gives a customer an amazing experience. That customer feels a consistent experience throughout because everyone's holding themselves to the same standard. And so that methodology is really going to start in those 2 places, your culture and with your leadership. The next component that I want to put out there is this belief concept. This belief concept doesn't just apply necessarily to the belief in your culture. I can tell you right now, it's very critical that it does, though. As I can tell you, if somebody doesn't believe in the culture and they think they can fake it till they make it, the more you inculcate and the more you saturate your company with the culture, the more that person's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just may be that that person might fit in better in another company, but we'll leave that for another conversation. The second component of belief comes down very much to your product, very much to your product. How do your people feel, and how much do they believe in the quality or the betterness, I don't even know if that's a word, of the thing that they're delivering to your clients? Do they really believe that this product is better than everybody else's? Do they? Because I can tell you right now, if they don't, then they will treat your product like a commodity. You want a set of windows? Great. You can buy them from me. You can buy them from them. You can buy them wherever you want. Well, if that's how they believe about your product, imagine what that would look like in their sales methodology. What is their motivation for selling your product to that person? Once again, if they believe that your product is a commodity and just like everybody else's, how do you think that will affect the way that they communicate and the way they sell their product? The motivation will be purely that you should buy my product, because if you don't, I don't make any money. Because you can get the product in any other place. And since I don't think the product is that special, the only motivation for buying it from me is because I want your money and I don't want you to give your money to somebody else. Have you ever dealt with a salesperson who has that attitude? I have. I've had people where I can just tell that they really don't think there's anything different between them and anybody else. And the only motivation is that they want my money. They don't want my money to go somewhere else. Imagine what your clients might feel if that's how they're being communicated with. Number one. Okay. Number two, if that's the case, then what's the only thing that determines whether or not they buy your product from you? How much it costs. Because if you have the same product as everybody else and you say the same things everybody else does, then the only reason for me to buy that product from you is because I can get it cheaper. Now, probably not a single person on this webinar who prides themselves on being the lowest. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Okay, here could be a few of you out there like, hey, we are a bargain contractor and we take pride in that, and that's what we're all about. Hey, if that's what you believe in, no problem with that here. But I'll bet most of you probably don't have that thought. And so the way in which we overcome that is, number one, by having a phenomenal product that can be articulated by our people out in the field. And then number two, our people need to believe that it is so good that it is up to them to protect that client from making a bad purchase or purchasing it from the wrong person. Now imagine the passion that might come out of your people when their number one concern is making sure that that homeowner or that business owner doesn't get bad service or a bad product from somebody else. The byproduct is they buy from me and we make money, and that's great. But the true motivation is that I'm protecting them from making a bad decision by being really, really good at my job. Being really, really good at my job. And so I'm gonna kick this over to Chuck to start throwing in some of these practical concepts at how we can be really, really good at our job.
Well, man, I'm going through it and I'm like, man, keep going, because I'm even writing stuff down. I'm like, this is good, and I hear from you every day. But you mentioned the belief, and when we get into understanding what we do and how we do it, sales reps get so entangled with their training. And here's the trainer talking about how they're getting so entangled in their training, but they forget to understand that there's a product, and then there's the labor, there's all this stuff that we get to use is different than everybody else's, but they're not focused on why they're different. And so therefore they don't truly believe in their product other than it's a great product. But the problem is it's the same as everybody else's. What if they can take that product and how they talk about the product, if they can take how they install it and explain it differently, then they can make something that they believe in much more, but also that is different from everybody else's. And I'm gonna throw this out there because there's a lot of bath companies that I know are on here, and they're like, well, if I'm going up against another bath company, whether it's an acrylic company, oh, they're all the same. Well, they're not. Like the BCI dealers have the laser cut walls. You have the bath fitters, they have the one piece walls. They're all so much different. And then you get the roofers. Now the roofers, they're stuck because the shingle manufacturers, they run the whole game. And so the shingle manufacturers come in and they give you the same bags, the same pitches, and then they bring in a sales trainer that trains everybody the exact same way. But then if I were inside of that company, I'd say, how can we explain this differently so that we believe in the product, but we also believe that we are different from everybody else. So I love the fact that you brought up the belief of who we are, what we do, and how we do it. The other thing that you mentioned was, how can we create an experience? This isn't about money. We get paid to do this. The problem is we send a sales rep in there and say, hey, if you don't sell this thing, you don't get paid. Well, we all know that's the truth, but if we give them another reason, and so, I know that you've heard me say this over and over again, but we save people, we don't sell people. And so there's that piece of understanding that the person you're sitting in front of, rather than saying, man, I killed that one, help them understand that, what, I was able to help these people. And the way that I was able to help them is I closed them. But if I didn't close them, then ABC roofing down the street or We Suck Roofing down the street is going to come in and tell them about their great warranty that they don't plan on registering, that they're going to talk about all this material that they don't even plan on installing. A lot of this, but that's why we say we save people, we don't sell them. We educate people, we don't consult with them. I hate that people say, oh, we have this consultative approach. Consultants are unemployed advice givers. So we come in and we educate them on the process and the products that we're going to install. And the way that we do this is by explaining it differently. Inside of Contractor Coach Pro, when people come in and get coached, we help them with these systems so that it's not the same discussion as everybody else has. We make these systems so that when you get done with somebody, they're like, I've not heard that one before. And I'm selling the same system as everybody, or selling the same products as everybody else. I'm just explaining it differently. And that's what they get through that coaching. But not to sit here and sell the coaching, but that's something that is very imperative, is how do we talk differently? So then when we look at the process in which we are going to raise our close rates, and how are we going to close this job? And people say, oh, I want the sales trainer's sales process. And being a sales trainer, I should sit here and sell this all day long, but it's not so much the sales process, because if I was to line mine up with the next 10 different sales trainers and we were all to explain it, they'd all be the same. Because there are only so many ways of killing this cat, or skinning this cat, or whatever you want to call it. That it's you have to have the process, but how do you go through the process? How is it that you're learning the process? I've had sales trainers that have, or I've had people come over from other sales trainers, not to say they're bad, they've actually been trained very well, but it took them 3 weeks to go through sales training. And that shouldn't happen. It should take them 3 weeks to go through all their training, but not through their sales training. And so it's understanding the system, but what is the tonality of that person? How are they going to have that conversation? Where those pauses need to be so that we can make the points we need to make, we get the commitments that we need to get, and then we have the ease of asking for the sale without asking for the sale. So that's how we really go through it. And I really liked, the methodology that you had just laid out for everybody.
So Chuck, if somebody we're hearing tonality, we're hearing attitude, we're hearing belief, we're hearing processes, but then we're also hearing processes are all the same, but how do we make how we go about that process a little different? So I would say maybe let's start with a basic construct for a methodology. So if somebody was to say, okay, I do want to have a sales process, and there need to be some key factors. I believe we have about 6. What would be the key factors that if somebody was to say, okay, I'm going to develop my own sales process, but what are the factors that I should think about making my own?
So the first one is, what are they going to say when they come into the house? How are they going to narrate what they're going to do today? That the customer has this anxiety. And people say, oh, the customer isn't anxious. Yeah. Have you ever walked in and the customer is leading you around by the ear? That's because they don't know what else to do. They have this anxiety. So they're going to take you right to the problem because they don't know what else to do. So they have to make that their own. Even when a sales rep comes in, we're going to teach them the process and say, okay, now that you know the process, I want you to explain the process in such a way that when you go in and talk with the homeowner, how are you going to tell them what's going to happen today?
So that initial introduction, that personability, first of all, that ability to make a connection, and then while also making that connection, setting some expectations, and instead of having the customer pull you around by the ear, you're saying, okay, here's what you can expect from me, right? And then that's a give and take too. What kind of things are you expecting in that component? So if you guys are listening and you're like, okay, step 1 of my sales process is going to be, how can I help my guys to get better at making a connection, and then also not alleviating the anxiety of the customer who doesn't really know how this thing is going to go. So how can we make that our own? So what would be the next thing that they should probably be? Okay, so step 1, what's step 2?
Step 2 is they need to go through a situation report, a sit rep, which are the objection defeating questions. Remember that once the price hits the table, buyers become liars. So we need to take a lot of the questions that we might ask later on and move them up. There's many different ways. Now, we used to call this the help me sell me survey. because some of these questions might help you understand how to move forward through the process. Now, I'm going to warn some people. I've seen a lot of these situation reports where they're asking the homeowner, what is your budget? Now you're asking a homeowner to draw a line in the sand, and you better not be over that, because they're going to let you know it. You know, some of these, that it's okay to ask them how you expect to pay for it. There's a line there, but it's okay to ask. But then have you ever had any contractors come out before? How did that go? What did you like most? What did you like least? What would you change about this?
Awesome. So then the second component of this is really getting to know them. And honestly, most of you guys out there are pretty experts in this whole process. And so drawing out of them a little of what they've experienced before, the things they're concerned about, the things they're excited about. I mean, honestly, like, I came from a roofing background. Nobody's ever excited about getting a roof. It's just, they're just never. Now, a new bathroom, oh my goodness, yeah, they can't wait to bring their friends over at their next open house or the next party, and people be like, oh, your bathroom is beautiful. But very few times does somebody pull up to your house and go, man, those shingles are glorious. We just don't hear that very often. But at the same time, that gaining that information and that intel from the customer that will help you understand, and you already know the things you're going to bump into down the road. And so asking the right kinds of questions that prepare them for some of the things that they're going to bump into down the road, and then gaining their feeling and their understanding and their experience with that. That's amazing. Okay, so we got step 2. Step 3, where are we going at this point that these guys need to be writing down for building their own personalized process?
Well, they definitely need to understand how to do a proper inspection. 90% of the companies out there have no idea how to do an inspection or why they're even doing it. You know, they go into, let's say it's the baths. They go into the bath and they say, all right, what do you want done? It's like, oh my gosh, you know, there should be a process in how you to go through this. Whether maybe it's roofing, and, you know, they'll let them know, hey, I'll just spend the next 20 minutes on your roof. I'll come back down. So we need to do a proper inspection. First of all, you need to look the part. And so if I'm going to inspect a bath, even windows, I'm going to have a pouch, and I'm going to take it out of my bag. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to put it on. I'm not coming in their house with the pouch on. I'm going to pull it out of my bag. And while I'm talking, I need them focused on the fact that I'm doing this, because no one else does it. I've been in thousands of ride-alongs with windows and baths and so many others, and they just walk around with a phone. And they might get lucky and sell the job, but a lot of these folks, that they go ahead and they put that pouch on their hip, and the customer's like, you know, they're staring at it like, wonder, what are you going to do with that pouch? Really nothing, other than it has my flashlight in it. I might have a couple of different tools that I'm going to use, but it's a prop more than anything. I might have my measuring device. I do not use laser measuring. That is an absolute lazy sales rep to use a laser measure. So pull out the tape measure, learn how to use a tape measure, bend it over and people love to see that. If you're sitting there with a laser measure and doing this, it's like it's just a lazy way of doing it. We have studied this over the last 2 years inside the bath industry. And it is an absolute overwhelming, where the customers would rather watch you use a tape measure than use the laser measure. The other thing is getting into either the attic or for roofing, or if I'm going to do baths, I got to get into that the space, what do you call it, the attic, or the access behind the plumbing. You know, I got to get into it. And when people say, well, why am I going to get into it? Because nobody else does. I'm there to look like the professional. But most of these,
you're doing some recon, right? It's funny because you were saying that, and I immediately thought of, like, what if a doctor walked into the room, you're sitting on that paper on the bench, and the doctor walks in wearing his golf gear and then just starts poking you with a non-gloved hand? You'd be like, what do you do? Who are you? Get it, right? Like, the doctor walks in wearing a coat, and he's always got that thing around his neck, right? I forget, the stethoscope, right? He's always has this, whether he uses it or not, it's always around his neck. Because if a guy walked in, set his golf clubs down, and then just started touching me, I'd be like, get away from me. Don't do that. So you need to communicate to them that you know what you're doing by having the tools of the trade, and then looking and going the extra mile. Like, hey, did you know you actually had a leak behind your tub? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, you do. Did nobody else point that out to you?
That's right.
Right? So, okay. So looking the part as an expert and communicating that through your appearance, which is 55% of human communication, by the way,
Yeah.
and then communicating to them what you're going to be doing on your inspection, so that not only are you educating them, but they also have some expectations, and you're telling them and explaining to them things that nobody else has. So you're looking at, so that's number 3. Number 4, what are we doing next?
So we got to go back and do the presentation. We got to go back to the kitchen table. We're going to do the presentation. That presentation has to be shortened down. I've seen some of these inspection or these presentations where they're like 50 to 100 slides. If you have more than 20 slides, you have gotten way out of control with your presentation. And you have to do it like we use Engage. And what I love so much about Engage, not only as a sales manager, I know exactly what pages you did. I know how long you spent on each page, but as a sales rep, when I'm going through this, I can make things bigger and smaller without, being afraid I'm going to move stuff all over the screen. And I can talk to things that the customer wants to hear about. And it's not a slideshow where I'm just going one slide after another. There's always these different buttons. And if I see where a customer lights up, if I'm talking about ventilation, if I'm talking about the faucet or the meeting rail and they light up, there's a button there that will go into that, the meeting rail or the whatever I want. It goes deep into that subject.
Are you saying that your presentation,
I can keep moving?
Are you saying your presentation needs to be engaging?
Yeah.
That was for you, Pam.
But yeah, it's, you have it shorter. And that's why I liked Engage as well, as you can have all those other pages, but you don't have to show it unless that customer gets really excited about something. Then I can go and take it down that rabbit hole and then come right back. But there's so many things that we can do. Yeah,
I was just, so like in where we at, like number 4 here is being able to present them either with the problem that they didn't know they have, or being able to present them with the solutions to the problem that they did know they have, right? So you got a potential 2-step on this second component. A lot of people, especially like if you're dealing with people maybe in the roofing industry or people who do plumbing or they're siding experts, and your customer doesn't know anything about siding and they don't know that they're having a problem with their siding or there's a problem on their roof, we got to present them with the thing that's going on, right? With the validation pictures, video that come from that inspection that we established the expectations for. And then that next component comes in where we start to explain to them how we're going to save them from getting a bad solution from somebody else. Okay, so if you guys are writing these down, number 4 is going to be that presentation, explanation of need, or if they already know their need, they hate their bathroom, explanation of our unique solution to doing that, right? So we're into number 5. So for building out our own sales methodology, what do we do here?
So now once we get into number 5, we got to get into the demo. And once we get, when we're looking at the demo, a lot of sales reps are, and anybody that's been a top rep, sales reps are lazy. As we say, sales reps are lazy, but I'm a champion. The reason why I say that is I count on the fact that my competition, when they come out, they're going to be so lazy, they're not going to do half of what they're actually supposed to do, which funny, they never let me down. And so, I get into the demo and I show them why our roof is so much different. I'm going to show them why our window is so much different and why our bath operates and it's going to last a lifetime. So again, we're demoing that out for them. And then also in the kind of the same thing was we're going to spin right into that trial close. We're going to spin right into that trial close. And so that's, I guess you can say that's number 5 more than anything, is we're going to narrow this thing down to money. Because I have no idea if they don't buy from me. I have no idea why. I can ask them till I'm blue in the face. They're just going to lie to me because they don't really want to tell me the real reason, because they know that I have a comeback. And so, I'm going to boil everything down to money. And again, I don't care what they say. when I let them know, other than price and affordability, is there any other reason that I couldn't get you on the production calendar while I'm here? Again, I don't care what they tell me. If they say, oh no, Chuck, you've been great, as long as it's affordable, great, that's wonderful. If they say, no, I've been telling you since I got here that I'm not doing anything today, oh, no problem. Again, it's always no problem, but that's
Okay.
number 5.
So number 5, trial close, right?
Yep.
We want to try and narrow down. And because here's the thing, with a question like Chuck just asked, if there's something else on their mind other than the money factor, that's when it's coming out. Okay. I was still a little bit concerned about the way that you guys take care of this, or I still was wondering, how do you guys start that, or what, like any of those other things come out. But when we remove those 2 components, that price and affordability, that's where we have an opportunity to eliminate any of those other questions or concerns that maybe we missed while addressing this situation. And then that moves into the other bullet point that I know a lot of people tuned in for this, right? So now we get into phase 6, where we're talking about the concept of price being mostly a stall and an excuse and not an objection. So let's hammer on that one a little, Chuck.
As you know, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. First of all, presenting that price. Now, so I've been talking very confidently throughout this whole presentation here. And when I'm giving price, I have to give that price just as confidently. And that price has to be done in several different ways. Now, you could do a good, better, and best, which typically I could do in roofing, siding, sometimes windows. Baths, you cannot do it. It's more of a design product, even though you're going to sell just one product. Typically, you have one thing to sell, and that's what you're going to sell, because that homeowner actually designed what they want. How the number of the shelves that they want, what kind of fixtures they want, they design that themselves. So when we get all the way down to where we're going to give price, there's an easy way of engineering this, so that if I'm going to give a 30-day price, I'm going to put one payment. These folks that put 3 different payments down there, way too much. This is our 9.99, and this is our 5.99, and here's our 3.9. Nobody wants that. They just want a single payment so that they have something to consider. And then right next to that, it's like a payment slash, and then there's the price. I'm going to focus on that payment. And that payment might be 5.99 for 5 years. And then I'm going to try and close it there, even though whether they buy or not, I'm still going to go ahead and give them our further discount. But I'm going to take it and try to close it there, which is that's where all their objection, their stalls, excuses are going to come into play. And then I have that today. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're going to do a today discount. The only time that you should ever offer a today discount is when the customer wants to negotiate with you. Because if they want something from you, you want something from them. So that is that opportunity to ask for a today price. Now, I'm not going to say it's a today price. If they go ahead and say, hey, we really like what you have, we're going to go ahead and move forward. Like, well, I mean, you made my job easy. I really want to show you that we are going to save you a little bit more money through our marketing agreement. Because we're going to give it to them either way. We don't want to go to their neighbors and then they're sharing it back and forth. But when we do give that step down, then we're going to offer say a 5.99 for 10 years. So the price didn't really go down a whole lot, but that payment sure did. So that is just one way of giving that price. But here's where the rubber hits the road, is where sales reps don't understand that what they're truly in the house for is when you have to make something out of nothing, or you have to help a homeowner with this decision. And when their customer says, hey, Nathan, you've done a great job, but, and that's when we truly need to understand that that's why sales professionals are hired. But most sales professionals don't know how to get past price. I mean, I go into company meeting after company meeting. I did 3 today, and now granted, these are newer companies, but I threw out and said, hey, so what, if I was to ask you or tell you that, hey, I need to think about it, what would you say? And everybody stared at me. I says, you guys all told me you guys have been in the business for over 5 years. And this is the one thing that everybody's going to tell you is they need to think about it. They need 3 estimates, that your price is too much, whatever the case may be. And there's too many sales reps in the industry that just don't know how to get past that.
Okay. That's fantastic. Absolutely love that. Now, as it pertains to, okay, the concept of that price coming down. So looks like you probably still have just a couple minutes here. And I want to just tick on this one, right? Because you get some of the reps and our salespeople in the field, they hit that little mark where that customer starts doing the, like, well, this guy was $1,000 less than you, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. What kind of tools can we give our salespeople that allow them to navigate the decrease in price, right? I know we call it the give up to get, right? So how can they arm their people to deal with that somewhat negotiation component?
So there's several different things. What we typically would do is we go ahead and we add some money in for like financing, some other things that may happen throughout the process. The man with the most options wins. You can't sum this up any better than this. So give your sales reps options. These folks that give them no options and they take them right down to the bottom and say, okay, that's as far as you can go, and that's the only price you're going to give. You're really just killing your sales reps. You're cutting their legs out from under them. So giving them that option of some extra cash for financing, but also give them either a coupon to use. It's a coupon that the company is using. Maybe it's a rebate or even a marketing agreement. Give them something to use. But whatever you do, help your sales reps understand how to do a drop. I don't know how many times I've been in a house and they say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to bring it down for you. If I was that homeowner, I'd be upset. Like, wait a minute, you could have done that for me and you didn't. You know, there has to be a reason for the drop and there has to be a system for the drop. They can't just produce one out of thin air.
That's fantastic. And I love hitting on that because I know that sometimes we give a discount out of fear. Okay. And sometimes as a sales rep, we give a discount because we feel like we're doing them a favor or we think we're being nice. The thing you got to remember is if you just give them the exact same product and all the same things you just built value over for a lower price, you basically just told them that you were trying to sell them at a higher one for no reason. So you got to think about that inverse component. Okay. So I hope you guys were listening. Okay. Because that was six fundamental markers for developing a sales methodology. Okay. And you can customize each one of those to match your overall company culture, your products, your offering, your attitude, your disposition, your positioning in the market and in the community with your own team and with your people. Those are those 6 major markers you want to put some focus on. All right. And if you're hitting those 6, if you're not doing those at all right now, and you start and you just, even if you get about 60% what you think you could do, but you're hitting those, you are going to see some dramatic changes to what happens inside your sales organization. So I know that we want to have a few minutes left in here for some questions. And so I know that we've opened it up for a few questions in case you guys have any. So while you guys are thinking about or putting some questions in there, I want to throw out this last key component in here that we kind of hinted at a little bit at the beginning around this idea of the consistent battle between your sales team and everybody else. There are 2 components that need to go into this. One of them happens on the sales side. And so if you're on the sales side, or if you're a very sales heavy organization, I'm going to punch you first. Okay. So, number 1, salespeople and heavily geared sales organizations, we as salespeople need to sacrifice our egos. We need to sacrifice our egos and our consistent need to be the biggest, the baddest, the most amazing, the person who walks around with their chest poked out all the time, the person who believes that everybody else should bow to their glorious sales ability and sales thing, and the fact that we bring in revenue and so this place can't survive, that all needs to go to the wayside. In order for us to create peace, harmony, and just a wildly efficient running organization, we as salespeople need to take the hit first. We need to take the hit first when it comes to setting our ego aside for the sake of our people and for the sake of our clients. I want you sales folks to realize something, that while yes, on the one hand over here, this company does need revenue, and salespeople are generally the ones who are bringing that revenue in, and we have to have it, there is an inverse to that attitude. The inverse to that attitude is that everybody else's job in that company depends upon you. If you have children, your children don't eat unless you work, right? Well, inside that organization where you're a salesperson, they don't eat unless you work. And if you're a salesperson who just kind of squeaks by, getting just the bare minimum done, but you're generating revenue, but the company starts to hurt, you know who they fire? If you're producing some numbers, they don't fire you. They fire a production helper. They fire an admin. They fire somebody who contributes more often to the company overhead because you suck. And I want you to keep that in your mind, is that our disposition as salespeople should be that we're the ones who protect the company from going out of business. We're the ones that create opportunities for people to have a job. And that our attitude and disposition should be that is a weight and a responsibility on us. And we should feel honored that we have the opportunity to do that for people in their lives. That's the first half. Okay. It's a big punch on salespeople. Okay. So I hope you felt that. I love you guys, but I hope you felt that a little bit. The second half of this is for our production and admin folks. Our production admin folks, I want you to realize something about your sales people, especially if they're commission folks. They have no idea oftentimes how much money they're going to make. They could work for 8, 10, 12 hours. They could work for 40 hours. They could work an entire week. And if they're in a sales slump, they might have put in 60 or 70 hours of work that week and they didn't make a dime. People question salespeople's character just because of the position they have in the company. You knock on somebody's door and they are predisposed to distrust you right from the get-go. If you're in production and you show up to put their new bathroom in, they love you. You're there to put in their new bathroom. You're there to help them get the thing that they want. Fantastic. So glad you're here. Sales guy shows up and they're going, just so you know, I'm not buying anything today. The salespeople have a pretty difficult job that people like Chuck are trying to help them make it easier. But salespeople do need support. They need some appreciation. They do need a little love. And yeah, sometimes we're kind of babies. It's true. But for whatever reason, when God decided to create a salesperson personality or structure, he decided to leave out attention to detail and organizational skills. Don't know why. Okay. But we need some of that support and some of that recognition that we do get out there. We take some pretty heavy risks in taking on the positions that we do. And so give your salespeople a little love. Okay. Don't patronize them, but give them a little love, give them a little help, and let them know that you appreciate what they do. And you might find a little bit of an attitude adjustment with some of those guys in the end. So I think at that point, if somebody's got some questions, we can probably jump into that.
It looks like someone's got a question about financing. And so
Great question.
When it says by offering no interest, no payment, when do you offer a lot of this? Depending on when we start talking about any type of financing, or if you want to bring it up earlier in the appointment, letting people know that you have the access to financing is always good, because there's many of them. If they are payment buyers, it's easy when you mention it and their face kind of lights up. You just found out that they're a payment buyer. But also in the end, the way that to find out if they like same as cash, or if they like longer term or shorter term, is letting them know about the 3 types of customers. We have 3 types of customers that love to use our trade partners. And the first one are cash buyers. These are people that want to use other people's money. and they already have the ability to pay it, but they don't want to put anything down and they just want to be able to use other people's money. Then there's those folks that they've been saving up for this project. They found out that it's a little bit more than what they were thinking, so they just need some help. Then, of course, I always put myself in this category so that they don't feel bad. I says, then, of course, we got the folks that just totally need help getting this thing financed because it's just unexpected. And so, they need a little bit longer term and easier payments. Which of these, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, are you? So it really helps people out to help them understand that, yes, they're financing, but there's also financing programs that they get to pick. I'm not going to shove it down their throat as, well, this is the one we have. It makes them feel like they have the opportunity to pick.
And giving it that normalcy too, like some people just assume that you have financing. Some people aren't totally sure. Some people may feel embarrassed to ask for it. And so making that a normal thing allows for some of that social proof. And by you bringing that up and saying, oh, and we do this and we do this and we do this, because we have a lot of clients who utilize these different tools for paying for their projects, that you just unsprung the insecurity that they might be feeling about the fact that they don't necessarily have 20 grand in the bank to just cut a check for this.
Correct.
So keep that in mind as well on that psychology side.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. That was an awesome presentation. We did have someone ask in the chat box where they can get the recording. We will be sending out an email tomorrow with the link to the recording. I know I started taking notes just a little too late about those 6 steps. So if any of you are like me and you started at step 3 and you need to go back, you can definitely watch it tomorrow. Also feel free to share that link with any of your colleagues. This information was amazing, and the whole team, anyone that you think that it could be useful, you should definitely share it with them. Leap and Engage, we are here to help you in any way that we can. So if you have any questions for Leap, Engage, Chuck, Nathan, Contractor Coach Pro, about sales training, sales methodology, please respond to that email tomorrow with any questions that you may have, and I'll make sure to get it to the correct person to get you the answers that you are looking for. Nathan and Chuck, thank you so very much. It was an awesome presentation. And on behalf of Leap and Engage, thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you all enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of your day, folks. Bye-bye.